welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. This is Wednesday, July 13th. I'm CJ Peterson, and my co-host is Mr. Michael Scott Clifton. We are both multi-genre, multi-award-winning authors. Actually, that's a mouthful, but it works. Uh, Hi, Mike. How was your week?
Oh, it was pretty good. Got to speak at the Macmillan Memorial Library on Monday, and that's in Overton. And they have a fantastic library, a fantastic facility. It is, I mean, I don't even. It's you would Overton's not necessarily a big metropolis, but they have a nicer library than a lot of much bigger cities, and part of it is due, I found out, because it's financed partially or wholly through the Macmillan Foundation, which is, I guess, a resident of Overton that left a bequest, among other things, to support the arts, including their library. And uh, Lisa Barnett was the one that contacted me about that. She was awesome, and we got there, Melanie and I, and they had a really good crowd. They serve a lunch, and I think once a month they have a speaker, generally an author of some kind, that comes and talks to them. And so they had a lot of good questions, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. I love doing speaking engagements. That's like one of my favorite things to do. It's just talking to people about that.
Oh yeah.
Um, well, my week was kind of sort of eventful. Super hubby and I kind of share an Apple ID. And what we didn't realize is we actually shared the iCloud. So when I cleared his computer, because his computer is half the strength of mine, I cleared my entire computer.
Oh gosh.
So I lost all of my computer. So I have been slowly over the last 2 days been trying to find from various servers, various things that I needed. Some things, thankfully, my sister Lydia has, and she will be handing them, up to the Google Drive, and I can pull them down from there. But it was very painful. I did completely lose a story that I wrote for the Texas Sisters Press
Ooh.
Christmas holiday
Ooh.
anthology, and it's a historical fiction story. So I have to go through and do all the research again and rewrite the whole thing over again. Very
CJ,
painful.
CJ, I hate to say this, but that really does sound like something I would do. And so,
Well,
I
we
mean,
didn't
really.
we've been fine for doing it. What we do is when my computer reaches a certain level that it can't handle anymore what I'm doing, is we usually get a new computer and I pass the other one down to him. And we've done this multiple times and never had an issue. But this time, like, I don't know, about 6 months or so, they forced me to put everything onto the iCloud. They wouldn't let me go any further till I utilized the iCloud. That was number 1. Number 2, what happened was we did an update. My computer did an operating system update, and when it did, it dumped everything from mine onto his as well. So our computers looked identical on the desktops, and his computer's only half the strength of mine, and it couldn't hold it, which is the reason why I got the new computer to begin with. And so I deleted it from his because we've done this before, and I emptied the trash, and once I emptied the trash, it was gone completely.
Uh, well, someone who, unfortunately, like I said, has walked that pathway, my heart goes out to you,
It was
and
painful.
and I hope you can get it all back, or
I can't.
at least part of it.
I got about 2/3 of it back, but like I said, like, the story is completely gone. It was done. It was ready to go. I was done with it.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I cannot get back. Thankfully, I do all my designs
Mm,
on a system that allows me to pull everything off, provided I haven't deleted it. So yeah, it's been
mm.
interesting. Um,
Can
but I don't
imagine
know. I don't know if
losing your work.
it was brutal. I was having a serious panic attack. I was on with Apple for over 2 hours yesterday. They even pushed me to high priority, and their conclusion was once you deleted it from the trash can, it was gone. I'm
Ugh.
like, ugh.
Mm.
So it was brutal. But I don't know if I announced this on last week's or not, but found out that Chief and Sarge, my second book, A Day in the Races, A Lesson in Friendship, won an international book award through Purple Dragonfly for children's books. So
Congratulations.
super excited.
Congratulations.
That makes 9. And so this is my first international one though. So
One
I'm
more
I'm
award
super
to
excited.
one more award to add to an already long list.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And Chief and Sarge are like super thrilled about it. They're jumping for joy because now they have three. They have two for cruising, and this is an international one for day at the races. And Davy Jones, our illustrator, is thrilled. So I couldn't be more happy. Super excited. And then I got my next book up to the editor, thankfully, before everything went haywire. So that's one of the things I was able to pull off of Yahoo because I had already sent it to her, thank God, or I would have really been panicking.
Mm,
So thankfully, I was able to pull that off. But yeah, that's currently in her hands, and that should be coming out the end of August, beginning September, I think. And
wow.
that's a historical fiction time traveling book. So it was fun. Don't recommend it. We went
Mhm.
from it was I had to research 1813, 1922, 1987, and then for the short story 1650.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't recommend it.
No,
So,
don't ever punch a button you're not sure what it's gonna do. So,
we've done it
that's
before though, and
yeah,
nothing has ever happened.
yeah.
But yeah, no, not happening again. We got him
Yep.
his own Apple ID, so he has his own thing, and we're good.
I back up everything now quadruply. I back it up on documents, back it up on desktop, back it up on 2 different flash drives. And
Hmm.
I've got a tertiary drive, what the that I haven't put in a external hard drive
We
that
have
I'm gonna
terabyte drives.
terabyte drive, that's it, and
Hmm.
that's what I'm gonna do next. That'll be the 5th backup.
Well,
So
when I went to change over computers in June, I backed up some things onto the terabyte drive, but I when I went to turn mine on, it didn't make me do everything. So some of the stuff, like the pictures and stuff, are on the terabyte drive from last time, but yeah, but the terabyte drive was getting full, so I didn't want to dump the entire desktop on there.
sure, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just yeah. It was sick, but nothing you can do about it. Can't cry over spilled milk, so just move
Mm,
forward and go on and rewrite the story, which I'm about halfway through. So it's fun. But so today we're going to be talking about something that's kind of a sensitive topic. We're going to be talking about writing in a PC culture. It's something we've been wanting to do, but we've been a little bit nervous to do it. But it's something that we both feel very strongly that needs to be talked about. So, Mike, do you want to start?
sure. Well, as you mentioned, this is something that, I feel very strongly about, and, I've lived long enough to have seen enough history, uh, to kinda have a background or a frame of reference, I should say, to view things through. So, without getting real, what's the word, political,
Hmm.
uh, we do live in a
Hmm.
democracy that is based upon freedoms, of which freedom of expression is one of those. And freedom to express yourself in art, freedom to express yourself in the printed word are among those freedoms which we all enjoy.
Hmm.
But I've
I do have to correct you on that. It's actually not a democracy; it's actually a constitutional republic.
constitutional republic. Okay.
There's the
So
difference.
so we take those for granted sometimes until they start to go away.
Hmm.
And what I've seen is they don't use it's never in one fell swoop.
Hmm.
Um, it's just nibbled at and it's slowly frittered away. So in our uh, profession as independent authors, independent writers, uh, and as people who are readers, we're all readers, and we're readers before we were authors, before we were writers, or readers now. We all enjoyed reading books, and that's part of the reasons why we write.
Hmm.
So anyway, what I have noticed is that in most of entertainment now, we're talking about movies, music,
Hmm.
literature. Uh, there is a checklist, boxes that you have to check off,
Hmm.
which are requirements in order to have your music published, your books published, or to produce a movie. You have these boxes, each one has to be checked off before you can actually move on to the project that you're working on. And and it's, to me, and what I've seen, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, that not only stifles creativity,
Mhm.
which I think is the number one thing, it stifles creativity. Number two, it produces products that are subpar compared to those of days before. And I'm not, it's just, to me, the movies aren't as good,
Mhm.
the books aren't as good, the music's not as good. And one could be watching this and say, well, it's because, yeah, you're at a different generation or different age. And so you don't like all the new stuff like younger people do, or a different generation would. And I've taken that into consideration. And I've got an open mind, a pretty good open mind, and I like a wide variety of things. But what
Mhm.
I've seen is that it this PC culture, which requires you to add things that were never part of a story, because it's like if you don't, then you will be punished, or roadblocks will be thrown in your way, or basically you just won't have any success.
Mhm.
So and let me add one more thing, and then I'm sure you've got a few things to say about it, and I've got a few more to add. But okay, in books,
Mhm.
the story is always the most important thing.
Agreed.
The, the story is why somebody reads a book, why they read your book. The story is what drives a reader's imagination. It's not, it is not a PC checkoff list.
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's not. If you lard what was a good story with characters and plot scenes and political statements, if you want to call them that have nothing to do with the statement. I mean, with your book, then what you have done is you have taken what might have been a good read and you've made it a so-so read. And
Mhm.
and it's taken the heart out of your story, because the story's no longer what's important. It's the checkoff list.
Mhm. It's kind of like writing a book from a company that's got a formula, and you have to write it this by this point, this by that point, this by that point, that point, that point, and it can be brutal. And not everybody's formulaic. I'm a pantser, you're a pantser, and we write by the seat of our pants. That's just what we do. And for me, if I'm forced to put something in somewhere, that just drives me crazy. I end up with hives. But if it's something that makes the story flow, or that is in there for me intentionally, which there are some things that are in there intentionally, and it's usually in there to encourage. It's
Mhm.
usually in there to strengthen and or to show somebody that, you are stronger than you think you are. Don't limit yourself. Don't let what's going on in your world limit yourself. And when it's done correctly and not forcibly put in there just to make sure that you're checking this box or checking that box, and it makes the story flow, then that's how the story should be written. If it's in there just to check a box, then don't do it. If it's in there and it helps to enhance your story, then go for it.
That's
But
right.
it has to be in there to enhance it, not as a checkbox thing. As you said before we got on, a lot of times indie authors are one of the few who still, or hybrid authors who still have, a certain level of free speech. Depending upon your publishing company that you're going through or you yourself, you know, that's the only limit that you have. So is it because you feel it has to be in there by a checkbox system, or sometimes if it's something you don't fully understand, talk to somebody who's in that position, and they may be able to help give you some insight. But you're not doing it just to check a box, you're doing it to get inside the head and the mind of somebody in that position. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. And I would almost guarantee you that people that are watching this broadcast, Book World: The Great Escape, can point to movies,
Mhm.
streaming series, books they've read, where they immediately can point out the shoehorned characters, the shoehorned plot lines that were not a good fit, that are like a big red thumb, as far as the signal that they weren't really ever part of.
Mhm.
They were artificially placed in there. They weren't part of the story or plot, and but that had to be done. So, and it's interesting. You should talk, about the difference between planners and pantsers. Okay, I
Mhm.
would think that pantsers would have a harder time with this PC checkoff list because that is not something that you know.
That puts a rein on us.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
like that.
yeah. That that's like That's like,
Mhm.
planners. Now planners might have a little bit better time of it because, when they've got their storyboard and their outline and everything,
Their
they can
character
already have
arcs.
they can already have those plugged in and stuff, but still, it's insane. Okay?
Mhm.
I'm just going to say it. It's insane. Okay?
Well, and if you're writing this story and it's a show don't tell, you shouldn't have to tell the reader what specifically is different about this character. They should be able to infer it by its actions, and they
That's
should be able to
exactly right.
infer
That's
by
right.
what's going on. And
Right.
if you cannot do that and enhance the story, then that character needs to be cut out,
Right.
regardless of
Right.
what it's there for. It has to be there to enhance the story.
And it's sad, even though, like, congratulations on your book award,
Thank you.
but a lot of literary awards, okay, uh, are completely closed off to writers. I don't care whether they're mainstream or independent, that do not toe the PC checkoff list line. They're just not considered for these literary awards.
Hmm.
It's like they're verboten, and it's hard to believe that we've reached this point in such a short period of time in just the last 5 to 10 years. But it's come to that where, it's no longer about the story.
Hmm.
It's no longer about the the characters, the your plot. It's about content.
Hmm.
Okay, it's about what you have and what you do not have. And if you have things in there that other people find objectionable, and I'm not talking. I mean, come on, y'all. If you're watching this, I'm not talking about some rousing story about some KKK wizard and heaping praise on this, or some mass murderer, or something. I'm talking about just ordinary everyday life and people that you have in your stories. But it's it's not it's not healthy,
Mm-mm.
and and again, it produces entertainment. It produces literature that, to me, is is weak. It's got a weak. It's just, it's not interesting. Listen, this is and then I know I've talked too much on this, CJ, but something, and I've mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it again. One of the writers' conferences I went to had a writer, a very successful romance author. She wrote pretty hot, steamy romances, but she was a very successful author,
Hmm.
and she made the statement that uh, when you write, remember this: the people that read fiction, people that read my novels, romance, hot, steamy romance novels, people that would read my novels, fantasy, sci-fi, that would read yours, CJ, they are looking for escape.
Hmm.
They don't want to be reminded of the everyday problems in real life.
Hmm.
They don't want that back in their face in the book that they're reading. They want to escape. They want to project their life into the story, to imagine that in their mind. And the last thing they want to do is be brought back to reality by these checkoff lists, which just remind them of all the things they wanted to leave behind when they started reading the book.
Hmm. Again, if you're not enhancing the story, don't put it in. You know,
No.
A- and we're trying to keep this general, so it's kind of a little bit hard to give specifics that way. Um, but when you create a character who fits the PC culture, again, if it's not enhancing the story, don't put it in. If it enhances the story and has a specific reason for being there other than a checklist, then go for it. We're not saying don't include
Yeah.
them at all.
No, no, absolutely not. No.
We're just saying make it fit within the story. Have you
Yes.
ever been watching a movie and all of a sudden you start to see the PC culture checklist coming and you feel like it's getting shoved down your throat? That's what we're talking about, is that that shouldn't be within books. That should be, if the writer is good, then you won't even notice it.
That's right. People aren't stupid, CJ.
Mhm.
You know, you may have done this. This may be very familiar with you. You may be reading a book and it's one of your favorite authors,
Mhm.
and you come across forced put in PC checkoff, plot line, character, scenario, whatever, etc. Okay.
Mhm.
And you recognize it immediately for what it is. So what do you do? Do you just, oh, I just can't put it down, and scan through it? No. What you do is you just flip the pages till you're past that. And the
Mhm.
and if it's a movie, what do? Same thing. Hit the fast forward button until you're
Mhm.
past that. So if the intent was to somehow enlighten people who apparently need enlightenment, whether they want it or not, then I think it has exactly the opposite reaction.
Mhm. Exactly. And like I said, if it's there to, if you don't know the perspective of that person, whatever it is that you're trying to encompass, and you just put it in there, that's actually probably going to irritate them even more.
Right.
If you know somebody who's in that situation and you talk to them and you get their perspective and you allow it to blend into the story and you weave it through correctly, you won't even notice it's there.
No. And one of the points you made earlier, CJ, which I'd like to double down on, is independent authors are a bastion. I don't want to be melodramatic and say the last bastion, but they are a bastion.
One of
Uh,
the few.
yes, of independent thought. I mean, because they have no publisher, no book company, no large publisher,
Mhm.
pulling the strings and saying, well, you got to include this, this, and this. You do not have an overseer of sorts that is forcing you to do things and put things in or out
Mhm.
of your work that you never meant to include. Uh, they are independent author. They are, indie authors by their name. It describes they are independent writers of the word. They
Mhm.
are independent authors who produce books which are not affiliated with a major company or any kind of major organizations. And so, all the independent authors out there, keep up the good work.
Mhm. Well, and like I said, I'm a co-owner of a hybrid publishing company. A lot of hybrid publishing companies will let that stuff go through as well. We may caution you if something is obvious, but 9 out of 10 times, as long as it flows, we're going to let it go. So, pick your publisher wisely, pick your wording correctly, and do a lot of showing, don't telling.
Hmm.
And, if you feel that character needs to be there, go for it. If
Right.
you're doing it just to check a box, don't do it.
No.
It's
And
pretty easy.
can I add? I'd like to add one more thing, and that is okay. Just so that we're both, we're all clear. We're both clear, and I know you and I are clear on this. But
Mhm.
just so anyone watching or listening to this, okay, what we are not saying, or what we are not endorsing, okay, is something so irresponsible and reprehensible that it's danger to you or to other people. I'm talking about, some obvious examples would be how to build a pipe bomb, in my book, or, you know, we need an ethnic cleansing. So here's the things, the steps that I recommend to accomplish that
Mhm.
mission. Okay. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about, nor should anybody, uh, uh, nor should anybody in their wildest imagination think that that's what, we are saying or trying to say. Okay. Because we don't support that and would never support that. And that's really not the point. The point
Mhm.
is freedom to produce a work for the enjoyment and entertainment of others without Big Brother looking over your shoulder and say,
Mhm.
no, 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 you haven't included it. Oh, you got to take that out, because it's offensive to 1% of the people. Well, I said something I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, uh, cat's out of the bag. So sorry.
I mean, here's the thing though. I mean, just be real. Be real in your writing, be real in what you're doing, right from your heart, right from your soul. Make it all flow together. That's all we're saying. We're not
Yes.
saying just
Yes.
to put in there just to put it in there. I mean,
Right.
I have a series that has multiple ethnicities. The Team Angel series has pretty much one from every country. So, I mean, it's all over the place. I didn't do that as a checkbook or a checklist. I did it as to show that, that even somebody from a different ethnicity or a different race can get along with another one. It wasn't there as a check mark, but they're in the book, and so it was there for a reason. There was a point.
Right.
So it's not there to discourage. It's not there to do any political statement of any kind. It's just there to let everybody know that we all bleed red.
Well, in our democracy, you have choices.
Hmm.
You don't have to read somebody's book. You
Hmm.
don't have to watch a movie. You don't have to listen to, a song on your iTunes list.
Hmm.
So you have the freedom to do or not to. And that's all we're saying is that if someone likes my book or your book, CJ, fine, read it. If you don't read it. Whatever, but what I have in my book and what you have in your book is there from my imagination and my creativity, not somebody directing me to add this or that. That was never part of the story, never part of the
Hmm.
plot, and never really, uh, you know, part of the cast of characters. So anyway, I do want to say, can I say, just add this? Okay. I, this week on tomorrow, which is Thursday the 14th, I will be doing a Zoom meeting with Teresa Young, who is the Director of Alumni Affairs at Wayland Baptist University, which is where I got my undergraduate degree, my old alma mater.
Hmm.
And she's going to be interviewing me about my book writing journey, and I'm looking forward to it. And that's
Nice.
going to be at 2:30. And then on Saturday, the 16th, this coming Saturday, the 16th, I'll be in Delight, Arkansas, and I will be speaking to the Diamond Writers Association. And I believe my topic's going to be planners and pantsers.
Nice. Well, congratulations. Super excited for you. Like I said, I love doing speaking engagements. Obviously, Mike does too. So, anybody who wants to have us, look us up, go for it. Our websites are in the comments. Um, Feel free to contact us. In the meantime, next week, we're going to be doing our favorite book review day. Today was supposed to be Michael Wigington for fantasy, but there was a scheduling conflict. We're going to move him to the 27th. So, for those who tune in for that, just know he's being shifted to the 27th and we will have them on then. So in the meantime, stay tuned, stay safe. For those that are in the heat wave zone, stay cool, and we will talk